Well, in the last few minutes, the police have confirmed the 5 suspects who were arrested have been released on bail. Let's talk to David Mellor, former Chief Secretary to the Treasury, who joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Well, look, in some respects, you can say, you know, they've had their protests, they've made their point. But shouldn't there be a bit more security around the house of the Prime Minister in these days of terrorist threats?
I mean, I love the police. I was brought up to love the police. But my love for the police diminishes somewhat in recent years. And you keep thinking, right, they've hit rock bottom, the police. It can't get any worse. And then, of course, it does. What on earth are the North Yorkshire police doing, allowing Rishi Sunak's home to go unprotected? Yeah, I mean, look, attacking people's homes is not a new thing. When I was the minister responsible for animal experimentation, a big job, but actually rather a difficult job, because it was very hard to get it right. I woke up one morning and they'd thrown red paint all over the front of our house.
Of your private house?
Yes, private house. It'd taken a lot of... But, you know, I was a miner. I was a sort of just a minor cog in the wheel. For the Prime Minister's home to be so readily invaded, what if they'd been terrorists? What if they'd gone in there and planted a bomb?
Whose responsibility is it, then, to guard or at least mount some sort of security around his private home?
The police.
The local police?
Yes. Well, I mean, the local police would work with Special Branch and whoever is looking
So why
after
weren't
him.
Special Branch asking where were they?
I guess what we're dealing with here is the assumption that once he's on the road, they look after him. But his private home... I mean, let's forget about those poor little girls and why they should have to go through that. But why is it as open as any other farmhouse up in Yorkshire? But you see, what I think is going on here is Just Stop Oil have been commanding the headlines. And I bet you there were people at Greenpeace who said, we can't have this. We can't have these people. They're dominating the airways. We got to get our ore in as well. And so that's what they have done.
Now, you know how this works. Derek says it's the person who is protected, not their property.
No,
is that the case?
No, I mean, look, if you went down to the Prime Minister's official residence, just because he wasn't there didn't mean you could walk in there. If you went to number 10, just because he wasn't there. No, I mean, and anyway, if that was the rule, which I don't think it is, I mean, the rules are crazy. I remember when John Major moved from being Foreign Secretary to Chancellor, he woke up the following morning and there was no policeman on his door. Why? Because the Foreign Secretary is entitled to a copper on the door and the Chancellor isn't. I mean, this is BS baffles brains, isn't it? But the reality is that someone's home... I mean, let's just forget about the morality of it. An Englishman's home should be his castle. It's the dreadful things they could do. You know, if those people wanted to plant something, they could.
Yeah, well, John says it's exposed a massive security breach. Could an experienced spy gain access to personal properties and plant bugs and cameras?
Of course. He's dead right.
Yeah.
Well done, John.
What mystifies me is that either Rishi Sunak himself or one of his people weren't asking the question about when we're off on our holiday now, is the house going to be protected? Is there security of some sort? I'm just surprised that somebody didn't ask and make sure that it was
maybe
there.
they did, or maybe there's an assumption, which is probably a rash assumption to make these days, that all this would be taken care of. You know, I remember as I proceeded towards the heart of government, I kept thinking at some point I'm going to hit a bit where everybody knows the answer to everything. Well, when I got to the centre, it wasn't quite like that. And I think this is a classic example of it. But if someone had planted a bomb, who would have known when the Sunaks got back? The other thing, while you're kindly letting me bang on, how much longer are we going to put up with this, where Just Stop Oil can do this, Greenpeace... I notice these people have been released on bail. Why?
Yeah, it was trespass at the very least.
Oh, and criminal damage as well. You know, and you have to say to yourself, are we going to tolerate these people disrupting all kinds of national events, sporting events, that kind of thing? At some point, one or two of them have got to go for quite a long stretch. You know, like Admiral Byng when he was shot on his quarterdeck. It was pour encourager les autres, to encourage the others. And I think a few stiff sentences might provide the necessary encouragement.
Well, That is out of our control. David, good to see you. I know we're going to catch up with you a little bit later on.